Welcome to Coach, a global community for coaching mastery.
Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Coach, Global Community of Coaching Mastery podcast, where we unveil the secrets, the art, the tools, the skills to coach with mastery. And today I'm very excited for this episode. By the way, my name is Leo. I'm Coach co-founder. And today we have our spotlight on one of our earliest members, Nora Mokdad Burger. She is a professional coach, and really, she's a fantastic source of wisdom, of knowledge. Nora has very sharp eye for talent. She coaches leaders, and I'll just share a little introduction about Nora. So, Nora, you are a transformation and leadership coach, and you help people overcome burnout and set boundaries. You coach leaders to reach their potential, personal and professional growth. And Nora, to that, what could you introduce yourself in your own words?
Yeah, thank you, Leo, for having me here today. I'm very happy to be here on this podcast with you for Coach. Yeah, me as a coach, first, I was born in Bulgaria. Many people don't know that about me. And I grew up in Lebanon. And since 15 years, I live in Germany. And I'm a mother of two. I'm a pilot's wife. So I'm doing also the bit of single mom thing while being married and the juggling of career and work. And I made a big career change from politics to coaching. And yeah, I live in Berlin now since 15 years happily and coaching international people.
Wow. It's such an honor, Nora. And what I hear, you bring to coaching a wealth of life experience. It's so interesting. And I know that you are a leader in your own life, having transitioned from politics, being a mom that has to handle a lot of things by herself, having shifted mid-career. Those are all very empowering and very courageous things to do in your life. And as a leader in your life, and as you work with leaders, I'm very curious, what do you notice that leaders in today's world need most?
The most important thing that leaders need is we of course all know that leaders want improvement and change. Any leader wants improvement and change. But the most important thing is how to master change. And that is to realize that there is something called immunity to change in any individual or organization. And once they realize that there is this immunity to change and it can be overcome, then making changes that stick become easier for leaders to make. And for that, what I do with my clients is that we do a sort of x-ray diagnostic where they discover if an individual or a team, what kind of immunity of the 7 kinds of immunity to change they are facing, and I help them overcome that.
That is so interesting. Immunity to change. And I'm very curious why leaders struggle with, let's say, they have this resistance to change. What do you think is coming from?
It's not only leaders, it's human nature because we are creatures of habit. And all research now from Harvard, from all the top universities in the world, is coming. And from all research teams, we as humans are creatures of habit. We like habit. And we have inside us this resistance to change built in all of us. And it happens in individuals and in team dynamics. And there are so many kinds and reasons for this. And as a coach, you can discover that exactly, diagnose where is this immunity, and then you work on overcoming it so that leaders can create the improvement and change that sticks over time for their organizations.
Yeah.
What is that?
Sure. Just a follow-up question on that. It's so interesting because if only we were easy with change, if only change would be seamless, and exciting. Life would be so much easier. Is there a way to make change exciting through coaching?
Of course, there are many ways. First, to see why is it difficult. With working with a coach, if you overcome the resistance to coaching, then a coach can help you overcome change and make it easier and make it more rewarding. And if people think of the journey, not only the result, that makes it easier. Definitely, if you enjoy the journey, not only be result oriented
Yeah.
always. Um, Another way could be also when they before setting the goals for change is to be inclusive and include the teams and the individuals in making sure it is really aligned with their core values. If the people are really on board and if they enjoy the process, it makes change easier.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important to help leaders enjoy that change so that they can onboard and include others and build that narrative around making change exciting, and maybe possibly even as easy as possible, isn't it?
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Usually there's the common conception that change is hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that hard if we have the right tools and if we
Mhm.
have the right support and if we lose the resistance to it.
Those are great tips. So if you have the support, if you have the right uh, clarity, probably, and the right direction, that is so interesting. And Nora, I know that your mission is to empower high achievers and leaders, especially expats, and we're going to touch upon this later, to connect to themselves in order to find confidence and clarity to reach their goals. And you also create a safe space. Now, what about creating safe spaces that can empower achievers to really flourish?
Yeah, usually most of our clients are very smart, high achievers. They're very demanding and they ask a lot of themselves. And
Mm.
people by nature are afraid and don't like being judged. They're afraid of failure and they're afraid of being judged. So, coaching is a place where you can experiment and you have this safe space. People don't need more of being judged or being appraised. If you have a space where you know you are accepted as you are and where you can be yourself and where you are not judged, then a lot of possibilities open up.
That is so that is so precious. And it sounds like common sense, but it's not common practice. So why do people outside of coaching, why there's this constant judgment and self-judgment and pressure that they put on themselves?
Yeah, there is the internal pressures that we put on ourselves, and there's the outside pressures, the expectations, the very high expectations we as leaders or professionals, as successful people that we are subject on. The outside pressures include the corporate, the organizations, the society, the parents, the family, the systems, the country we live in. There are big expectations on human beings, and there are the expectations that are built within us from childhood that we put on ourselves. And these high expectations put people under immense pressure, and this often leads to burnout. Or also, it leads them to be disconnected from themselves, where they are trying to achieve goals that are not truly theirs, that is not coming from them, but goals to please some source outside of themselves. And as a coach, I help them really reconnect with themselves, reconnect with their core values to make sure that the goals they put for themselves are really aligned and resonant with their own purpose and not coming from a source of outside pressure or some internal saboteurs or voices that we grow that we must or should do that.
Mm, the must and the shoulds, right? We all have them. That is crazy. We all have the musts and the shoulds. And it sounds like high achievers have them on high volume. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why when I work with a client, I always say there is no must. Don't say I must. Don't say I should. You're not allowed to say that. I want you to say I want. What do you want? Is a question I often ask a client. What do you really want? Not what someone else, not when some internal voice is telling you, what do you really want?
That is very interesting. We don't really, I think what we often fall into is that we think we know what we want. We want all of those things that you just said, that we ourselves put pressure on ourselves, and then the world adds up to that. What do we really want? And I know it's just the next question kind of leads from here. I know that you coach in English, German, and Arabic. And I'm just curious, what is a common thread? And we'll come back to what people want. What is a common thread that people struggle across countries and cultures? And also, if you notice a common thread, what would be your best tips or advice or approach to deal with that?
So, across cultures, there are 5 main things that people struggle with, no matter where they come from. 5 main things. The first one is stress, and the second one is burnout. The third one is people struggle to set boundaries and to say no. Work-life balance is a big thing. And finally, making change that sticks. Making changes that stick. I coach people from the Middle East because I coach in Arabic. I coach people in Europe in English and German. And these themes are always recurrent.
That's universal, and it's almost like in this divided world, we are more alike in our struggles than we are in our differences. So if we struggle with the same things across cultures, what would be one maybe universal thing that we can do, or one thing we can change to help people across the globe, across the cultures, to help themselves with the challenges they face?
I think most of these people that we work with and see every day are high achievers. They put themselves, they are under immense pressure. First is empathy, self-empathy toward themselves, to be a bit easier on themselves. This starts with the first thing that they can try to work on. Practice more self-empathy and self-love and self-care. Of course, there are so many tools to lead to that. There are so many ways to go through that. But if we work on a bit of more empathy and appreciating what we already do, appreciating the achievements already, and being easier with ourselves, that's a place to start. Because in my experience, most people need stretching down than stretching up, need to be more and do less. So yeah, this is a starting point. Maybe more being versus doing a little bit.
I absolutely love that concept of stretching down. Could you maybe share an example from your own life where you made the decision to stretch down?
For my own life, yeah, at a certain point, I had endless to-do lists. And I chose to, because, and they seem to be all a priority. And then I thought, it cannot be that the 20 things on my list today are priority. So I made conscious effort to, it was a challenge for me to every day strike down 3 things, strike them away, that these things I'm not going to do today because they are not absolutely necessary. So for example, I simplified the meals a lot. It doesn't have to be a 3-course meal. It can be like 3 little things which are healthy and nutritious for my family. And it doesn't have to be so elaborate. This is something I simplified as a mom. While still they get the nutrition, I could get to do my work, and we can combine health with other priorities together to free up time to do other things. So it was really doing my to-do list every morning or the night before, and then in the morning striking 3 things off the list.
I'm curious, while you're striking those 3 things off the list, what was your inner dialogue with the part of you who wants to do things perfectly?
Oh, what will happen? Oh, I cannot. It was a bit of panic. I cannot do that. So who will do that if I don't do it? If this doesn't get done, what will happen? Things will not be organized or flow smoothly as they are. At the end of the day, when I looked and said nothing happened, when I struck them down, when these things were not done, the sky didn't fall over. Nothing really happens if I even strike 5 things down that list. And since then, it's been a journey. I've been simplifying and simplifying, reducing, and being really, really protective about my priorities.
That is so helpful. That is so helpful. And Nora, prioritizing yourself, prioritizing themselves. Leaders, I'm making an assumption here, probably don't do that well. What are some ways that they can help themselves do that?
Well, leaders need a lot to develop a lot of empathy, first and foremost for themselves, more empathy for themselves, increasing a bit the emotional intelligence so that they are able connect to themselves to able to prioritize their well-being first. Because if they prioritize their well-being, they can be show up better for their teams, for their organizations, for their families, for their friends. So when they need to um, understand, but really believe and internalize that really without guilt, if you really take care of yourself and prioritize yourself and protect your priorities, protect protect your set of priorities and boundaries and say no to some things without guilt, that they are really helping themselves and others better because they can show up differently, not burnt out, not stressed, not with anxiety. And this will be better for others also, not only them,
Yeah.
eventually.
So it's almost when they are being empathetic with themselves, they're actually practicing how they can be with others. And then the empathy with others who come from a genuine, honest place. Because obviously being authentic is such a big theme right now. Everybody is the word of the day, being authentic, being authentic. And I'll take a left turn here with authenticity because you did do a career shift, right? From politics to coaching. And I'm making an assumption here. I imagine that you felt like being your true authentic self was in coaching and no longer in politics. Am I right? What was that transition like for you?
Yes, in the world of politics, I was very successful. I was ticking all the boxes. I was very successful in the eyes of the world, going from one work in one position, one job, one project to the other. But I was not happy. I was not relaxed. I was not myself. I couldn't let my true authentic self be or give her space to appear. And I wasn't being true to myself despite being productive and successful in that place. It didn't align with my core values. I didn't know what my core values were. And then slowly and surely, when I took the fundamentals, when I discovered the world of coaching, when I started discovering my core values, my purpose, my mission in life, I started to want to align that with the line of work I do. And only then I started finding fulfillment in the work I do. Because being successful in what we do is totally different than being fulfilled at what we do. And therefore, I decided to make the shift. It was gradual. I thought a lot about it. I searched a lot. I read a lot. I took a lot of courses. I did many workshops. It took years to do that shift. So I did it really convinced, slowly but surely. I was going slowly towards something that's authentic, that's my true voice, something that's my real me can be side by side by being professional and successful. Because both together are possible when we align our value and purpose with what we do.
Nora, did you have a light bulb moment that kind of strike you out of the blue and say, oh my God, I found my passion? Because also people talk about their passion and living their passion and being by passion. Did you have a light bulb moment like that?
No, I did not have this light bulb moment. I'm not one of the people who had that. For me, it was gradual. I was searching. I was searching inside me and outside me, and this search took time, and I changed many things before I arrived at coaching. But with the first coaching course I got, I felt home. I have arrived. I knew it from the first day. But before, I tried many things, and it took time, and there was a lot of soul searching. But when I arrived, I was like, that's it. I'm home. I'm happy. It's flowing. I'm on purpose. The
That is,
energy is just flowing easily. Everything seems easy, and I can be myself while serving others.
yeah. That, honestly, that just gave me chills because with this message, you it's almost you give so many people permission out of the tyranny of passion. There's so much pressure. It's almost like passion has become a saboteur nowadays because we put so much pressure on people to live with passion. And passion doesn't live under your couch, under your, it's not something you just stumble upon and just find and you had that aha moment. And I love your story, you sharing vulnerably that it was a process. It's okay to be in a process to find your passion.
Yeah, passion takes time. Everything in life takes time. I think that everything meaningful takes time. Yeah, I don't wake up one day just like that. Oh, my passion is coaching. My passion is being a singer. My passion is in real estate, and I'm going to do that. No, it's not like that. It's you search, you try this first job. I worked as a translator, as a journalist, as as an integration expert in some ministry. I worked with a youth commission. I tried so many things. I searched for that, and sometimes you need to dig in deep to discover what your true passion is. What's that? Not the assumed one. Not that people tell you you're talented in this or that, or you would be good in this or that. Something that's really coming from in takes a bit of digging, and this needs time. So my advice when it comes to passion, it became of sort of like what you were referring to, a kind of toxic positivity, like you have to live your passion, you have to do it now. No, it's like give yourself time, give yourself compassion, let yourself be while doing it, and then it will reveal itself.
Wow, that is so beautiful, and I'm sure this is going to be a very important message for so many people because we're remarkable as people taking a good concept and turning into pressure. We like to pressure ourselves, and in the high achievers world that you work and coach in, high pressure is really, really, really the flavor of the day, of the year, of
Yes.
the month, the flavor of the industry, right? And speaking of pressure, Nora, to me, you are a high achiever. I'm curious, what are some of your biggest challenges as a coach, now as a professional coach? What are some of the biggest challenges that you're maybe faced or are facing right now?
Yeah, I'm like everybody else. I'm faced with the pressure. I'm faced with the comparisons. I am challenged with the constant need to achieve and the next milestone and the next degree and the next biggest client. And the biggest challenge is burnout. Like all those high professionals, how to really uh, work, achieve, succeed while avoiding burnout. This balance is a big challenge, and I need to walk my talk. I need to practice what I preach. When my clients come burned out, and I help them set their priorities and set their boundaries to protect themselves from burnout or to heal from it, I have to practice that myself and need to make sure that I'm not burning out myself in the process.
Yeah. That is so important, and it's easy to fall into the trap of I'll be happy when, or there's another 57,000 things to do, but I'm coming back to what you shared, your advice of striking things off. So I'm in my mind, it's when I go to my level one, I'm like, okay, what things can I strike off today of my list? So
Mhm.
I'm definitely taking that on board. That is such simple but genius advice. Thank you so much for that. So, Nora, reflecting on your journey, making changes, making drastic changes is scary and it's uncertain, and we don't know what the outcome is going to be. Yet it sounds like you took many of those steps in your professional life. What is one step maybe that you took professionally that was the most scary, terrifying, uncertain, that really impacted your journey? And now you look back and you say, oh my God, I'm so glad I took that one step. But in the moment, it felt like the end of the world.
Yeah, I had that moment. So that was the moment where I told my editor in the online newspaper I write in for 5 years, I am not writing anymore. I'm becoming a coach. Sorry, I'm not taking the homework. I'm not taking the job to report on that thing. I'm not gonna write anymore.
What was that like?
It was very hard because I'm a writer. I'll always be a writer, but I wanted to stop journalism, reports, writing in politics, particularly. I said, I will not write anymore. I'm really sorry. I am now a professional full-time coach. That was a defining moment for me. I was scared. What if I don't become a coach? What if I don't get clients? What if I'm not successful with that? I'm turning down a very good, important job that is proven to have been successful, worked, and given me money for the last 5 years. I was saying I quit because I'm becoming a professional coach while I was still in my beginning. That took a lot of courage.
Yeah.
It didn't seem rational to anyone around me. And everyone said, but you're a brilliant writer. Why are you doing that? No one understood me. And I had to walk alone. When we do great changes, we are often lonely and not many people understand us. So that was the moment when I told the editor, whom I had a great relationship with, sorry, I'm not writing anymore. Now I'm a full-time coach.
Wow. You know, about making change that you see for yourself coupled with loneliness. So many people can relate to that because people with big visions see what they see and people around them cannot see what they see. How to be with that loneliness?
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to be with, but when we want to go towards our purpose and towards our fulfillment, that road can be very lonely because many people around us don't understand. We have to, the most important thing we can do in this case is to stop seeking validation from outside and look for our internal validation. Check with ourselves our core values, my purpose. Am I on purpose? Is that my true, authentic self? Is that my true, real goal? And go for it. And then those people who love you will always be there for you. And those who are going to criticize or put doubts in your mind are always going to do that. So you need to take a decision for yourself to stop seeking validation from outside. Otherwise, you're not going to make those big changes that you want to do towards your fulfillment. So
Yeah.
it's following the internal compass. Yes, it's scary. Big changes are never comfortable, but also the magic lies out of the comfort zone. So a lot of courage, a lot of fierce courage is needed. But also, we don't have to have that big picture. In everyone's life, there's this one person or few persons who cheer us up and say, "Go for your dream, go for it, do it. I believe in you." And in my case, it was my sister. She said, "I believe in you. You're going to be a great coach. Do it," even though no one else understood it. And I think everyone in their life, in the end, finds few people. It doesn't have to be much. Even if it's one person believing in you and cheering you on, it's enough.
Yeah, that is so, so important. And this is what we do a little bit in our own community, in Coach Global Community for Coaching Mastery. You know, we are coming together and we are cheering each other towards that change because being with change, and it's so interesting that maybe I'm getting older, but maybe what I'm observing, what I'm noticing is that the pace, the acceleration of the pace of change is just going crazy lately with all the technology, all the political landscape changes just accelerated. And people will perhaps struggle even more to be with change if they don't have the proper support and tools to inner tools to be with that change.
Yeah, I totally agree, Leo, with that. And therefore, when the change accelerates so much outside of us, political, economic, and the world is in turmoil at the moment, it is really a moment where we need to slow down, like slow down to get ahead later. We need to slow down, go back inside with the help of tools or coaching. uh, there are many ways. There's meditation, there's working with a coach, there's really going inside, checking with us what are our core values, what's really meaningful to us, and go for it to filter a bit all the chaos and madness outside of us, and really focus on our priorities and what's really meaningful to us, and protect that in the middle of this mad world,
Yeah.
a dangerous one that we're living in at the moment. So going back to the self, having real sharp clarity about what's really meaningful to us, and prioritizing that and protecting our priorities, boundaries. And yeah, that's what I work with my clients with. I do a lot of discovery work on core values and purpose, because only when these are aligned and they're on purpose, they feel the resonance and they can go do what they want to do and be who they want to be.
Back to what people want. It's impossible to know what you want when you don't really know who you are or what you are about. So if we make a little circle to that moment when we said, right, people need to say, I want this, I want that. And what I'm hearing, what I love what you do in your work is that by helping them truly see themselves for who they are, um, then they can state with certainty what do they want.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they're often surprised with what they want. Sometimes it's much bigger than they were allowed themselves to dream. Sometimes it's much smaller and they want to stretch down and just be and not do so much. It's always a surprise. We never know where that journey takes us.
That is
There's a
so beautiful. It's incredible how it's incredible to see the truth of who you are.
Yeah, and to accept yourself for who you are, and then not care whether others accept you or not. But then, funny enough, when we accept ourselves, we find that we are truly accepted for who we are with others. When we are authentic, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, somehow the circle of people who genuinely are there for us expands. It's like you have to first lose the layers and the masks, and then suddenly the circle of genuine true love and support and acceptance around you grows bigger.
Yeah.
But you have to go through this vulnerability phase to really allow our authentic selves to shine, and then those who remain are those who really like your true authentic self. There's a big prize in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And what comes to mind is often people talk about it's lonely at the top, but I think what comes through for me here is that it's lonely when you are not living your authentic self. Because what I'm
Exactly.
hearing from what you just shared is that when you step into your authentic self, the natural support will just show up. And that really does happen. We see it all the time.
Yeah, then you will meet suddenly people who are allowing themselves to be their true authentic self. And this kind of creates this global family, like we have at Coach here in the community. It's
Yeah.
people from Japan till America, like the whole globe, allowing this community is allowing themselves to be authentic, vulnerable, and be themselves. Suddenly, these people emerge, and you start seeing them, and you start connecting with them, and you have this community. So maybe the road, a little bit, the beginning can be a bit lonely, but I assure everyone, if you walk on this road, along middle of the road, not towards the edge, you will find companions, and it's not that lonely anymore.
Oof, that hit really close to home. Thank you. I just absolutely love that, Nora. And as we can go on for hours, and I absolutely love your insights and really life experience that you're sharing here. But as we wrap up, I'm curious if you were to have the ability to leave one message for all the high achievers in the world, what would that be?
One absolute message for all the high achievers in the world would be more empathetic with yourself. Give yourself more empathy to be able to give it to others too.
Wow, that's just absolutely, absolutely necessary. And you know what? I'll take that to myself as well. I'm not a high achiever, but I'll definitely take it for myself. And Nora, thank you so much for this incredible conversation. I'm curious, what's next for Nora?
What's next for me is that I'm working on a workshop for burnout, to prevent burnout, because as you said, there are two buzzwords at the moment: authenticity and burnout. Stress and burnout seems to be the disease of the century, of the time, of the era. So I'm working on a workshop for burnout. Yeah, that's the next step coming in the next months.
Amazing.
And otherwise, we keep on growing and learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
With
Absolutely. And we'll share all the links, whatever you see this episode or you listen to the episode, we'll share all the links. You can connect to Nora directly. Nora, thank you so much for this incredible insights into burnout, into leadership, into what it takes to be with change and to thrive to change. I'm curious if there's any last message that you have to share with our audience before we wrap up.
Yeah, thank you, Leo, for having me. Thank you for the great questions. I enjoyed this interview so much. Thank you, really. A last message would be really we need more kindness and empathy, because if we have more that with ourselves first, more kindness and empathy for ourselves first, because I believe no one can give empathy if they can't give it to themselves. No one can love others if they can't love themselves. So love yourself.
Beautiful, beautiful. Nora, thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll get back to these conversations and expand further next times.
Thank you, Leo.
This recording was offered to you by Coach, a global community for coaching mastery.